Part 27. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 273. The occasional second-level monsters that appeared were easily dealt with by Aika and Tailua-senpai. Aika did not use any other weapons except the double guns. This was also to train himself. Way 11 never took action. Aika has already told her that this is not protection, and the enchantment magic is just overkill here. Oops. The lynx-type monster took advantage of the jungle terrain and its flexible movement to jump up from Senior Tairuya's spear, not even the bloodthorn puncture catching its trajectory. The lynx-shaped monster that escaped to the branch used the branch under its feet as a springboard and targeted Way 11 behind it. Way 11, let's go to your side. Aika couldn't catch up with the rescue, but Way 11 had Mentor Letica by her side, so he could safely remind Way 11. Although I know I can't rely too much on Teacher Letica, this is indeed a reassuring excuse. A heavy, gravity amplification. The lynx-shaped monster in mid-air suddenly fell almost vertically, and then lay sprawled on the ground unable to move. The hastily deployed barrier failed to control the area, and even Aika and Tailua-senpai who deployed their magic defense in time were unable to stand up due to the sudden increase in gravity. Yeah, sorry. Way 11 quickly released the gravity amplification, and the suppressed lynx-type monster turned over and came back. Wow, confinement. This time Aika and Tailua-senpai almost turned into statues wrapped in magic crystals. Teacher Letica, who was standing closest to Way 11, was the victim who was most affected. The confinement barrier that Way 11 deployed while in a state of fear also had a killing effect. This may be regarded as creating a new barrier. Facts have proved that if she is in a calm state, Way 11 is undoubtedly the strongest barrier magician. On the contrary, he is also the strongest barrier magician. It just adds the negative status of missing crosshair. The distance to the lake is also getting closer. However, this is only a rough estimate based on the simulated map. It is not clear how far it is actually. There was a break in the middle because Tailua-senpai bumped into a small spider hanging from a branch and suddenly ran into a rage and hit her knee on a thick bush. To add, Aika, who was walking in front, actually saw the spider, which was no bigger than a fingernail, and avoided it as usual. Afterwards, Aika, who forgot to remind Tailua-senpai, and Tailua-senpai, who repeatedly emphasized that they mistook it for some kind of magical beast, began to apologize to each other. Everyone chose to believe in Tailua-senpai and move on as if nothing had happened. Tailua-senpai. Aika, who was walking at the front of the group with Tailua-senpai, suddenly murmured. Tailua-senpai heard what he said, but she didn't know what he wanted to do. What's wrong? No. It's okay. Aika shook her head and responded with a perfunctory smile. Tailua-senpai tilted her head in confusion. Let me say, classmate Aika. Are you dating classmate Way 11? Puff. In fact, Aika was still as calm as before on the surface. This was the voice coming from her heart. It was like the sound of a rapid heartbeat bursting and blood spurting out in an instant. This is the true portrayal of Aika's mood at this moment. Tailua-senpai, this misunderstanding is too deep. Let me remind you, she is just a child. Your premise is wrong, I just treat her as my sister. Oh. Please don't drawl meaningfully. But maybe she doesn't think so. Tailua-senpai secretly glanced back at the girl who was at the center of the conversation. Way 11 was talking to Instructor Letica and didn't seem to notice this side. Tailua-senpai, do you think so too? If you say so, Aika-kun must have noticed it too. A little. Not only Way 11, but the other two members of the family also feel this way. As a boy, maybe it should be a happy thing to be regarded as someone you can rely on. I just don't want to sacrifice my current life in exchange for that insignificant sense of vanity. In Shimizuki Academy, you are a representative figure who has many things to do. If you are hesitant, the discipline team will invite you to tea. The relationship between me and them hasn't reached that level yet. Senior Tyruya should know that, right? By the way, will the discipline team still care about this kind of thing? This task has been added since you entered Frost Moon Academy. I must be the only one serving you. Don't worry, classmate Ling is now the leader of the discipline group, so he should be a little more tolerant to you. Isn't this kind of mission meaningless? I don't need such preferential treatment at all. Haha, I lied to you. Senior sister Tilyuya covered her mouth and laughed with satisfaction. You actually believe it. Because you are Tilyua senpai, I can only believe your words. Knowing that she was just being used for entertainment by Tilyua senpai, Aika felt slightly unhappy, so Tilyua senpai stopped her teasing attitude. Actually, what I want to say is that there is no excuse for procrastinating things like love. If you lose the opportunity, you will only regret it. Tilyua senpai, who had been teasing her juniors until just now, seems to be telling the truth now. Perhaps it was just Tilyua senpai's sentiments, but Aika felt that Tilyua senpai, who lowered her eyes, seemed to have more unsaid words. Tilyua senpai, thank you. No need to thank me, I said too much. Tilyua senpai smiled sheepishly and ended the topic. In Shimizuki Academy, Aika and Tilyua senpai didn't have many opportunities to come into contact with each other, and their meetings were usually just to discuss business matters. Ling should know more about Tilyua senpai, who can occasionally reveal a corner of her heart like this. Aika lamented in her heart that she was in the same group as Tilyua senpai by chance and was able to understand this side of her. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he caught a familiar color again. This time he could finally confirm that he had not seen it wrong, because pure white and emerald green were incompatible, and it was impossible to see such a conspicuous color wrong twice. Tilyua senpai, did you see it? Well, probably human. The pure white color quickly disappeared behind the emerald green. Although the figure could not be recognized, it was certain that it was not a monster. Tilyua-san, Aika-san, what's wrong? Have you two discovered anything? Instructor Letica led Way 11 to follow the two people who stopped. Well, I think I saw a human just now. Humans other than the survey team. The hair color and height are similar to Way 11's, but I can't see her clearly. Aika, who was very familiar with Way 11's back, added to Tilyua senpai's explanation. Aika and Tilyua senpai asked teacher Letica with their gazes if they wanted to make contact. Well, if it's someone you can communicate with, it's necessary to get in touch. Everyone should keep a record of the current route. There is no guarantee that the tracking mission will not deviate from the planned route. This approach is to be able to turn back after the deviation. The pure white figure will appear in everyone's field of vision from time to time, and then suddenly disappear. The current search route has greatly deviated from the planned route. Go forward another kilometer. If you still don't find it, give up. Teacher Letica gave such instructions. But before we walked out of the 1 kilometer distance shown on the PDA, the scenery in front of us suddenly opened up. Although they deviated from the planned route on the simulation map, everyone still walked out of the vast forest and arrived at their destination. The endless lake is sparkling under the bright sun, and the monotonous green is replaced by colorful vegetation. The sun is no longer blocked and shines freely on everyone. After passing through the cold and damp forest, I felt the preciousness of this tepid experience. It turns out there is such a place in the ruins. The wind here is more comfortable than in the forest. It's so different compared to the forest. Is this the inside of the ruins? There seems to be no entrance. While the girls were immersed in emotion, Aika looked around, hiding her inner nervousness. It is indeed a rare beauty, but this is also the interior of the ruins that can be triggered by magic equipment. If this was really the birthplace of mechanical alchemy, then something had already changed when I came here. Teacher Letica checked the PDA, and sure enough there was still no signal. I still can't contact Instructor Wilbur. I don't know if they are nearby. If nothing unexpected happens, Instructor Wilbur and the others should already be here. According to the planned route, the two teams would meet at the same place by the lake, but Mentor Letica's team deviated from the planned route. Looking at it now, even if we stay here and wait, we may not be able to reunite. Maybe the route on the simulated map cannot reach the lake, Teacher Letica. Did you also notice? Instructor Letica looked at the PDA silently, which recorded the route the team had just taken. Judging from the route drawn on the simulated map, everyone should not have left the forest yet, but were moving farther and farther away from the lake, but the fact was already before our eyes. That white figure suddenly appeared in everyone's field of vision, bringing everyone here like a guide. If the simulated map is inaccurate, we cannot act rashly. We will pay attention to the situation in the surrounding area for now. Teacher Letica. Senior Sister Tilyuya interrupted Teacher Letica's arrangement with some embarrassment, because in the forest, there seemed to be dirt on my body. Teacher Letica immediately understood the implicit meaning of Senior Tilyuya, and she looked at the others. Me too, I'll feel better if I use water. I don't care. Because there was some hot and humid air in the forest, Wei 11's cheeks and neck had hair stuck to sweat, which Aika had already noticed. If Tilyuya-senpai hadn't proposed it first, Wei 11 wouldn't have proposed it to waste time. It's probably because Tilyuya-senpai saw this that she spoke up on her behalf. Then you two go ahead. Teacher Letica agreed with a smile and allowed Wei 11 and Senior Tilyuya to approach the lake. Teacher Letica, don't you need to go with us? Me? I don't need it. Now I realize that it's very hot to walk here. Aika suddenly pulled her collar and left Teacher Letica's side. If Teacher Letica doesn't come, please wait for us here alone. Wait a minute, Aika-san. Aika didn't stop because of Teacher Letica's words. She also secretly observed Teacher Letica with her peripheral vision as she hurriedly followed. He guessed that Teacher Letica didn't wash her face with the girls because she was worried about him, who said it doesn't matter, so he took advantage of Teacher Letica's personality. Just when Aika was still thinking about this kind of thing, his attention was attracted by the colorful aurora flashing in the sky. I remember there was no such thing just now. The area where the aurora appears is getting larger and larger, and the lake surface, which is as calm as a mirror, has undergone changes. A vortex rolled up around a certain point, as if a bottomless pit opened at the bottom of the lake, sucking in all the water. Aika quickened her pace and rushed to Senior Sisters Wei 11 and Tilyuya, who were closest to the lake. What happens? I don't know, it suddenly became like this after my hand touched the lake water. Brother Aika. Wei 11 looked at Aika hesitantly, and she probably realized the reason for this scene. This is inside the barrier and will only react to magic equipment. Aika only thought of this possibility. It's okay, Wei 11, Senior Tilyuya already knows. Aika dispelled Wei 11's concerns, and Instructor Letica followed closely. Is this being activated inside the ruins? Aika-san, is it related to mechanical alchemy? Sure enough, Teacher Letica also noticed Aika's magic outfit, and didn't ask about it until after the change occurred. My magic equipment is mechanical alchemy, but it doesn't seem to be affected by it. The lake receded, and the ground bordering the lake shoreline emerged in the blink of an eye, as if the lake there had never existed. The ground suddenly appeared in front of us. There were no magnificent buildings on it, only a few stone tablets erected on it. The laser that quickly flashed across the horizon finally revealed its full form. It was a strange coat of arms covering the sky. This is not the emblem of mechanical alchemy, Teacher Letica, have you seen it before? Aika asked Instructor Letica, the only one here besides herself who had a magic costume, but she just shook her head regretfully. This is not the coat of arms of the Aurora of Mirrors either. Then why? Teacher Letica, over there. As Tilyuya-senpai pointed out, everyone noticed that a fifth person appeared in their field of vision. Standing on the ground that suddenly appeared was a girl who seemed to be carved from the same mold as Wei 11 beside her. The only difference was that her eyes and expressions showed no emotion. Wei 11. No, Wei 11 denied in a trembling voice, that's not me. I know. Aika put her hand on Wei 11's shoulder to feel that she was really around and to calm her down. Wei 11 is here, and of course neither instructor Letica nor senior Tyruya will regard the girl opposite as Wei 11, she is just someone who looks very similar to Wei 11. The person who asked questions on behalf of everyone was teacher Letica. Who are you? Surrounded by green grass, she just lowered her eyes slightly, but did not take her tasteful gaze away from everyone. After a brief silence, she finally set her sights on Wei 11. Why? Being stared at by cold eyes, Wei 11 did not flinch, but mustered up the courage to ask, why do you use my appearance? Wei 11's voice couldn't be said to be loud, but she on the opposite side must have heard it. Come to my place, Wei 11. This was the first sentence she had spoken so far, and it was only said to Wei 11. Wait a minute, do you know Wei 11? I do not know her. Wei 11 answered anxiously, even though she was not the person being asked the question. But then Aika understood that this was just the other party's unilateral decision and had nothing to do with Wei 11's wishes. You are the one who brought us out of the forest, right? Since she didn't want to reveal her identity, teacher Letica decided to ask another way, why did you bring us here? She is the only one I need, she replied coldly, so please disappear. The magic power in the space trembled suddenly at this moment, and then returned to calm the next second. Nothing happened. At first, everyone thought it was just an illusion, but they soon realized that Wei 11 beside them had activated the magic. Wei 11 is good at enchantment magic, whether it is expansion or elimination, it is her domain. You removed my barrier, I'm still as good as ever. What, that kind of statement about treating people as props? Aika originally wanted to use dialogue to solve the problem, but she had already attacked everyone with obvious hostility. Aika-san, don't be too impulsive. Tailua-senpai also summoned the knight's spear, and while raising her vigilance, she did not forget to remind Aika, who was obviously angry. Although with classmate Wei 11 here, you don't have to worry too much about barrier magic. But I don't know what other methods she has. I will take action depending on the situation. What we are facing now is not a World of Warcraft. Of course, teacher Letica cannot let her students face such a dangerous enemy alone. The she on the other side didn't make any more moves, and just sighed as if she gave up. Indeed, barrier magic is of no use to you. What do you want Wei 11 to do? Since the other party wants Wei 11 so much, there must be some purpose. Is it peeking at Wei 11's powerful barrier magic? Or are you just interested in her? Aika thought of many possibilities. She shouldn't exist here, I just want to take her back. Classmate Wei 11, don't pay attention to what she says. She seems to be just a paranoid, and she deliberately dresses up exactly like you. Speaking of which, besides us, can anyone else enter this ruins? Tairua-senpai has had this question before. It is possible that they are illegal immigrants. After all, the only organization that has officially made an exploration statement is Shimizuki Academy. For this reason alone, it is necessary to arrest her. Although she is a girl exactly like Wei 11, Aika must be ruthless to defeat her. On the contrary, she who faced the four people did not show any embarrassment, but calmly responded to everyone's hostility with cold eyes. I don't want to be your enemy. Such words coming from the mouth of someone who just prepared to attack us are not convincing at all. Senior Tyruya did not give in. She would not let her guard down just because of such a simple act of kindness. Because you are the ones who are kind to her, so I should thank you. The she here should refer to Wei 11. Judging from her obsession with Wei 11, this statement is a bit strange. If she wanted to monopolize Way 11, Ika's presence would be an eyesore to her. What he said here was completely opposite to the obvious hostility just now, and he couldn't understand her logical thinking at all. However, this is just gratitude in my heart. If you are stubborn, please be mentally prepared accordingly. The she on the other side changed the subject, and the tension suddenly rose again. Please wait. A barely shouted voice intervened between the two sides who were at war with each other, blowing away the arrogance that was about to break out. Way 11 walked out from behind Ika and took a few steps forward, one step closer to her. Way 11, come back. Brother Ika, can you leave this place to me? Now that Way 11 has said this, Ika can no longer stop her determination with self-righteous reasons. After knowing that Ika had given up trying to stop her, Way 11 returned her attention to organizational language. I'm sorry, I don't know what kind of relationship we have, but I have a new family now, so I can't leave with you. If you really need me, I will do my best as long as I can help. The new family, does this kind of relationship exist for you? It does exist. Way 11 answered her question without any hesitation. It seems you haven't understood what I mean, which is why I want to take you back. But the conversation between Way 11 and her didn't seem to be on the same channel at all, and Way 11 was also trying hard to think about what she wanted to express. The strength you think you have is only based on escaping reality. I don't. You have been escaping from the beginning. If you can't understand, go back to the beginning. This is the moment when the strange country from 100 years ago reappears in everyone's eyes. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 274. Not long after the cross-border war ended, the Principality of Sentia declared independence after the Bes Empire and the Kingdom of Tiberai, becoming one of the three human-led countries in the continent. Grand Duke Mephis Sentia has made outstanding contributions in the cross-border war. As a female leader, she has the willpower and decisiveness not inferior to men, and enjoys high popularity among the nobles. Under wise governance, the reconstruction work in the early post-war period was carried out in an orderly manner. Not only are the three human countries independent because of their geographical location, the entire continent is in a chaotic period of order, and other races also establish new countries from time to time. Mephis Sentia first set out to meet the basic needs of the people, and the production lines and economic network soon stabilized. In this chaotic continent, the Principality of Sentia is a rare pure land. The city known as the capital is the place where the two met. The little figure wearing a hood lowered his head and blended in with the dense crowd in the market today. There were people here who were focused on buying and selling, so no one noticed her. Turning into a familiar alley, the noise of the market gradually faded away. She walked to a house, stood on tiptoes and looked into the room from the window sill. The curtains in the room were closed, indicating that no one was home today. She turned around and left with some disappointment, but before taking a few steps, she returned to her original position and placed the bag in her arms on the window sill. The next time she came here was 2 days later. When she was lying on the window sill, her hood was suddenly ripped off from behind. Yeah. Beautiful and dazzling white hair pours down from the hood. She whined and squatted down, covering her hair with her hands. The group of boys who tore off her hood surrounded her and laughed. "White-haired monster, come and play with us." "Hey, why are you always wearing a hat? I can't recognize you at all." "You can easily find it without wearing a hat." The boys were talking to themselves above her head. Although he called her the white-haired monster, it was just because he didn't know her name, so he called her by this simple and easy-to-understand name. Because my hair was accidentally seen before, this harmless name spread among the children. The places and frequency of her appearances are irregular, so the boys treat her like a rare animal. The boys were making noises, trying to pull her up from where she was squatting on the ground. The door of this house suddenly opened with great force. The girl with long silver hair tied high rushed out of the house holding a broom in both hands. "Hey, you guys. It's a manly woman. Manly woman. Manly woman." The girl who came out scolded sharply, and the boys dispersed in laughter. After they all ran away, the girl put down the broom she was waving in her hand and ran down the steps to her side. "Next time you encounter those gangsters, just use your magic to beat them all away." "I won't do that, Suzune." She raised her head, which was buried in her knees, and the corners of her eyes were a little red. With the help of the girl's hand, the white-haired girl stood up from the ground. She didn't cry out. When she was surrounded by boys, she squatted down just to protect the bag in her arms. If she was discovered, it would definitely be snatched away. Now, she handed the bag into the girl's hands. "You brought something like this here again." The girl originally didn't want to accept the things she brought, but if she didn't accept them, she wouldn't enter the house, so she finally compromised. After the bag was taken away, she smiled with satisfaction. "Come in quickly, or you will be discovered by the adults." The girl urged her up the steps and closed the door. This is the home of the girl Suzune. Her parents work in the market during the day and only come back at night, so she is the only one at home during this time. Suzune held her hand and ran up the stairs and took her into her room. While she was sitting quietly on the cushion beside the low table, Suzune put tea leaves into 2 cups and poured hot water into them. The faint aroma of tea overflows from the mouth of the cup. This is not the cheap tea you can buy everywhere in the market. She brought these tea leaves in bags. In addition to the tea leaves, there were also some fruits and other edible things. Every time she comes here, she always brings this bag. If no one is home, it will be placed on the windowsill. Suzune placed 2 cups on the low table. To be honest, she didn't know how to taste tea, but it would be wasted if she didn't drink it, so she pretended to be an adult and made tea. "Suasheo, you are a princess, show off your princess style and teach them a lesson." "I'm really not a princess." The white-haired girl Yukishio embarrassedly corrected the ringtone again, but she still didn't seem to listen. In fact, Suasheo didn't lie to her. She was indeed not the princess of the Principality of Sentia. She just lived in the mansion because of her special status. "And make sure you don't bring those things next time. Even if you give me so much fruit, I won't be able to eat it all, and I can't give it to my parents." If asked where these things come from, it will be revealed that Suasheo often visits here. She is indeed a princess, she even needs to hide herself when traveling. Suzune, who thought so in her heart, also actively cooperated with Yukishio. She didn't even realize that inadvertently becoming the object of a secret relationship with the princess was the issue that she should be most concerned about. "Lingyin, you were not at home the day before yesterday." "That day, I went to my mother's shop to help, but I was scolded for causing trouble." "That's it?" Seeing Suzune's expression happily recalling, Yukishi didn't say what she wanted to say. Words like "I'm lonely because you're not here" should not be said at this time. So Yukishio just responded to the ringtone with his usual smile. "By the way, Xueqiao must have been here that day too. I received a gift." "I'm sorry for making you travel in vain." "It doesn't matter, it was my misunderstanding. I thought Suzanne would be at home every day. Let's agree on a time." "Ah." Suzanne just thought of a good idea, but her tone immediately turned regretful. "Xueqiao can't come out casually, right?" "Sorry." Suzanne knew that Suasheo had risked all kinds of dangers to sneak out of the mansion that was not accessible at will. After she went back today, she didn't know when they would be able to meet him next time. When she thought of this, the thought of keeping her here came to Suzuine's heart, but this was impossible. Ringtone changed the topic, from the trivial things that happened at the market recently to the various unreasonable requests from parents. Suasheo has been listening quietly, She likes this kind of time. The tea in the cup was finally finished and no longer steamed. Let's have a picnic. She had spent most of her time in Susan's room, and this was the first time she had made such a request. Picnic means eating outdoors. The wilderness can indeed be regarded as the wilderness, but it seems a little wrong. Susan struggled with this small problem and began to pack the things needed for the picnic. But you haven't cooked yet. Those things brought by Yukishio will go bad if you don't eat them. Susan put all the contents of Yukishio's bag into the small basket. By the way, let's go on a picnic every day from now on. I think Susan's cooking is delicious. Then don't bring these extra things next time. Susan didn't really think the gift Yukishio brought was troublesome, but she just didn't want to ask for too much from her friend. This time, in exchange for the meal he cooked, Suishio finally nodded lightly and compromised. The two came to the suburbs with better scenery and environment. It is indeed the wild. Susan spread the plaid cotton cloth on the grass. It was also her first time to have a picnic. After taking off her shoes, she and Xueqiao sat down face to face. The distance is so close. Yukishio and Susan looked at each other at this distance for a few seconds, and immediately looked down at their thighs with flushed cheeks. There's nothing I can do, the doily is only so big. Lingyin had never bought a picnic mat, she just took out the spare table mat at home. The proposer of the picnic was starting to get nervous himself. Okay, let's eat. In fact, it was just fruit, and Susan stuffed it into Yukishio's hand as if to hide her shyness. During this time, they ate in silence without any communication. Just eating all the fruits I brought will make me full. Eating fruits as lunch in the wild is a rare and novel experience. How strange. Thinking of this, Susan suddenly laughed. I don't know if Suishio understood what she meant, or was simply affected by the atmosphere, and laughed softly along with the ringtone. They laughed like this for a while. It's so strange. This time it became Snow Wave and said so. Yeah, that's weird. Susan put away her smile, put her hands on the ground to close the distance between the two, and then kissed Suishio lightly on the lips. After returning to the original distance again, Xueqiao did not react. Woo! After a while, the skin above her neck turned red from the inside out before she let out such a cry. At this time, whether it is anger or anger is a normal reaction, Xueqiao's reaction seems to be too mild. This means forgiving and accepting Susan's sudden attack. Xueqiao, don't you hate this? Lingyin didn't know why she did that kind of thing just now. It was all her fault of being too close. If others do this to her, even people of the same sex will feel rejected, so knowing that she has done something wrong, she is afraid of being disliked by Suishio. I have no idea. Suishio didn't answer her directly, nor did he say he hated her. She didn't run away from him, and Susan didn't know how to understand this ambiguous attitude. In the end, she took it a step further without being affected by the atmosphere. This less than 1 second kiss became a secret between the two of them. But through this overly intimate behavior, both Susan and Yukishio confirmed each other's feelings. For Suishio, she is the first friend he has made and the only friend without any additional relationship. For Susan, although Yukishio is not his first friend, he is indeed the friend closest to his inner world. In their small world, they both regard each other as an irreplaceable spiritual pillar. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 275. The nobles of the Bis Empire came to the Principality of Sentia, and Suishio was also asked to attend. The visiting nobles were representatives of the Bis twin towers who were famous in the cross-border war, the Chiz family and the Heinz family. It was difficult for Suesheo to understand the topics they talked about with the ministers. She only attended the meeting as a symbolic presence. All she knew was that the meeting ended in harmony. Then, the war started without warning, and the Bes Empire, which was still in the early stages of reconstruction, marched towards the Principality of Sentia. Even the BZ Empire did not immediately rebuild a complete army and nobility with magic armor to guide the changes in the war situation. It is said that the Bis twin towers that we talked about last time did not appear on the battlefield, whether it was because such a small country did not need their action, or because of other reasons. Xueqiao, who stayed at the mansion, did not know yet. She is only worried about Suzun's safety now. The war has not spread to the capital yet, so you can feel relieved. Later, news came to the mansion that the two towers of Bis were convicted of treason and imprisoned for supporting the Principality of Sentia. It was only then that Suesheo understood the significance of that meeting, but there was nothing she could do. The war finally reached the capital, but due to the snow wave, the damage was not further intensified. But the barrier is indestructible, but it cannot guard against the human heart. There is a rebellion in the mansion protected by the barrier. Snowtide, continue to protect the capital. But the master's priority is higher. Do you still remember the contract we made? The one you should protect is the country we built together. That was the contract made between Mephis Sentia and Snowtide during the cross-border war before the Sentia Principality was established. No. I can't do it. In the vortex of trouble, she resolutely gave up her responsibility. Without the barrier used to protect Mephis Sentia, the capital's gates were easily breached. This is the first time she has shown such a strong will after entering into a contract with Mavis Sentia. The nobles who wanted to take the Grand Duke's life had already broken through the last defense of the mansion, and there was not much time left for them to argue like this. But at this last moment, Mavis Sentia actually smiled. It was not a crazy smile because one's country was about to perish, nor was it a smile of regret because one's life was about to disappear, but a gentle smile like a mother. Xueqiao, compared to you when we met, you are more like. Holding the small hand of Xueqiao who was kneeling opposite him, Mavis Sentia corrected his statement, you are already a human being. Why is this, Mephis? I can't be happy now. That's really a pity. It only lasts a few seconds, but I just wanted to make you happy in the end. Through the clasped hands, Yukishio felt the huge magic power flowing from Mavis Sentia to him. She immediately realized that the next sentence would be the farewell between the two. However, she did not hear her master's last words, and the transfer magic was activated. In the radiance of magic, Suesheo could only read her mouth shape. Live as a human being. The snow tide was sent to a safe area in the middle of the capital by special transfer magic, and the war that continued to spread to the center would soon spread here. She didn't have time to stay in a trance. Mavis Sentia left her last words before she got up from the ground. Even if he is caught by the enemy, he will not die. To be precise, the concept of death does not exist for him. But Mavis Sentia sees herself as a human being, so Yukishio must also live in this world as a human being. The spotless mansion dress immediately lost its beauty. She ran through the smoke-filled streets and fell countless times, but she still got up and ran towards the familiar market. The fate of the Principality of Sentia has been forgotten by her, because just now, the contract with the Principality of Sentia, or rather with Mephis Sentia, has disappeared. During the time she was escaping, houses continued to collapse, innocent citizens continued to die, and her tears flowed endlessly. Putting the harsh sounds out of hearing, I kept apologizing in my heart and praying for forgiveness in my heart, but I didn't even know who the person was apologizing to or praying to. The market is no longer familiar. This is not the market that Xueqiao is familiar with. She searched for the alley among the collapsed houses, and the smoke made her vomit more than once. The alley in the impression can no longer be seen as it was before, and the place where Susan lived has also turned into ruins. Xueqiao finally stopped because she didn't dare to move forward. The person I most want to see every day is the only person I don't want to see now. Finally, she went to see her. The reality is not that cruel. It has not taken away everything that belongs to Xueqiao. Susan was injured, but she was still alive. Ringtone. Finding a familiar silver-haired girl among the ruins, Xueqiao dragged Susan out from under the bricks, regardless of the blood stains on her hands scratched by the bricks. Susan was still alive, and just knowing that was enough for Yukishio to ignore the pain. She held Susan's head and let her lie down on her legs. The blood from the scratch stained her beautiful silver hair and her cheeks. Ringtone. Uncontrollable tears fell on Susan's face, and she finally slowly opened her eyes. The hand that could not be raised touched the cheek covered with dust and tears. My cute face is all gone. No. His. Yukishio replied with a choked voice, squinting his eyes and raising the corners of Susan's mouth slightly. Princess can't run out without permission. I'm not a princess, I have nothing to protect. Aren't you here to protect me now? Susan smiled weakly, and the thick smoke drifting in the wind made her cough violently. Yukishio never stopped crying, and Susan's breath became weaker and weaker. Ringtone. The ringtone on her knees had no response, and the only answer she received was the sound of weak breathing. Xueqiao decided to live as a human being and then told the secret that he had hidden from his best friend until now. Lingyan, you still don't know my real name. As she murmured to herself, the pure white magic circle bloomed quietly. When Yukishio said that name in Susan's ear, a crack appeared in the space. I'm sorry, I don't want to be alone, I'm sorry. The pure white light could be seen from thousands of meters away, but no bard recorded this moment. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 276. Historical pictures flooded into my mind like a movie. The scenery I saw for the first time, the people and things I saw for the first time, did not feel strange at all, and I could even understand the psychology of the characters. What are these? When Ika came back to his senses, he still stood there, as if he had just had a dream, but he would not feel such a splitting headache in a dream. The others also frowned because of the severe headache. They also saw the same scene as Ika. No, with the only exception, Wei 11 didn't seem to suffer from headaches. But she cried, not howling, but she didn't notice the tears falling. Xueqiao, no, Wei 11. Ika, who was suffering from a headache, yelled like this, and Wei 11 came back to her senses from her trance. Brother Ika. As soon as she spoke, her tears became even more uncontrollable. Now can you understand why I want to do this? The she on the other side still had that cold tone, which made Ika notice the existence of her. In the image just now, Xueqiao, is that you? There is so much information that Ika still doesn't know how to understand it. She didn't answer. The person who answered Ika's question was another voice. Brother Ika, I'm sorry. Wei 11. Ika is also aware of this possibility, but she just doesn't want to agree with it. But Wei 11 herself has admitted it. Tailua Senpai and teacher Letica have both recovered from their headaches, and the images just now made them clearly understand the facts. This is a memory sealed by me, because I'm not a human, I can control my own memory. Wei 11 said words that would sting her, and laughed through tears. That smile was so sad in everyone's eyes. My name is, Xueqiao Ziji. Wei 11 accurately conveyed the unheard name at the end of the video to everyone present with her trembling voice. Classmate Wei 11, are you Maeva Senchia's magic costume? Instructor Letica intervened at the right time, and Wei 11 nodded silently in confirmation. But classmate Wei 11, she's still a human being. Magic costumes have their own consciousness. This is a fact that has been proven by scholars. But I have never heard of magic costumes being able to appear in human form. The consciousness of the magic suit reminds Ika of the rampage of the light flame sword, so it is not difficult to accept it. But those things are no longer important. Now the top priority is the problem here. We can talk about Way 11's matter after we go back, but we must first give up on her insistence on taking Way 11 away. Way 11 is the consciousness of the magic suit. Are you the consciousness of the ruins? In human terms, that's what it is. So, are you Way 11's mother? In human terms, that's what it is. Ika suddenly changed to honorific, and she on the opposite side hesitated for a few seconds before answering the same words without changing her expression. But your approach is not like welcoming your daughter home. Do you think so? In my eyes, that's it. Brother Ika, that's not the case. Way 11 anxiously wanted to explain to Ika, probably to avoid the dispute caused by the dispute of words. But Ika doesn't want to listen to Way 11's words now. He just wants to know what Way 11's mother wants to do. She didn't fulfill her responsibilities, so I'm taking her back. The meaning of reclaim is not as simple as letting her live here, right? Since it has lost its meaning of existence, there is no need to continue to exist. Ika didn't look back, so I don't know what Way 11's expression was after hearing this. Mephi's sentia allows her to live as a human being. Doesn't this serve as the meaning of existence at all? She has given up on this purpose of existence. Way 11 never gives up. Whether she is crying or laughing, she always strives to live in this world as a living girl. Brother Ika, it's all my fault. Suddenly someone hugged her from behind, and Way 11 could only wrap her arms around her waist. Even so, he could only control his excitement and calm down. I did not fulfill the contract with Mephis, and all the people died because of me. Even if Mephis forgives me, I will not be forgiven by hundreds of thousands of people. Ika couldn't interrupt. He wanted to emphasize that he was not as pessimistic as Way 11 thought, but wasn't this selfish favoritism? Brother Ika and sister Ling's family fell into this situation because of my country. Way 11 is too mature. Her appearance has not grown at all in the past 100 years, but she understands it even better than Ika. What kind of person is Maeva Sentia? Ika asked a question in a deep voice that had nothing to do with the current topic, but Way 11 did not refuse to recall her former master. She is gentle and fair. That's easy to say. Since she, who is gentle and fair, has already decided on a way to get forgiveness for you, you just have to do it obediently. The existence of the Principality of Sentia has not been recorded in history, Teacher Letica said calmly. Grand Duke Mephi Sentia hopes that you can remember this country. If it is not remembered by anyone, it means it has not existed. Although I am not an idealist, the Grand Duke did place this wish on you. Teilua Senpai. Way 11, I won't let you go there. Because that person doesn't know what it means to be alive. Ika removed Way 11's hand from her waist, then turned around and gently pushed her towards Teilua Senpai. Senior Tairuya, my opponent's abilities are probably the same as Way 11's, so Way 11 will ask you to take care of him. You are really rude to senior sister. Teilua Senpai was sarcastic about Ika, but she still accepted the task calmly. The opponent is the ruins that gave birth to the magic equipment. If he joins the battle, he will undoubtedly not be able to help. Tairuya Senpai is not yet confident enough in her abilities. Classmate Ika, leave this place to me. Teacher Letica, this is also my battle. Ika summoned the two guns. I am now preparing to snatch my daughter from Way 11's mother. When Way 11 heard this, her face suddenly turned red. Teacher Letica also understood Ika's words as a joke and allowed him to take the risk with a wry smile. Is this the answer you got after thinking about it? Way 11 won't leave it to you, but it's okay to come back and check on me often. She responded to Ika's words with a confinement barrier. Mechanical alchemy explosion mode. He fired both guns at his feet and controlled the output of the burst mode to a level that could neutralize the magic barrier. Aika used the reaction force of the explosion to jump out of the confinement barrier. Since the opponent needs to be regarded as a magic weapon, the mechanical alchemy ability of the magic weapon must be maximized. Teacher Letica, who unfolded the magic outfit Aurora of Mirror Flowers, also spread her wings behind her, and the light beams that had been refracted hundreds of times by the mirror fell like a rainstorm towards the place where she stood. This attack won't be very effective. This was indeed the case. The pale barrier blocked the attack that knocked down the 4th level monster in one blow. Instructor Letica, who had already anticipated this outcome, just wanted her to use the Kang Phosphorus birdcage, and her goal had been achieved. The activation and contact stages of magic cannot be interrupted or changed. Instructor Letica is aiming at this process of lifting the Kang Phosphorus birdcage. There was no magical radiance, but high-energy rays that simply compressed the heat in the air and shot straight out at the speed of light. However, the high-energy line disappeared silently on the way. That's because if there is no heat in space, high-energy lines cannot exist. At the moment when the birdcage of blue phosphorus was released, she spread out a partially frozen barrier on the trajectory of the high-energy lines. After that, Aika launched floating cannons from different directions to encircle and shoot, and all the ballistics were blocked by the defensive barrier. When she raised her hand, the magic circle that emerged in mid-air surrounded Aika. Offensive chains were shot out from the magic circle one after another, and Aika could only turn back the floating cannon to smash these chains one after another. The war situation fell into a stalemate. She seems to have seen through our attack patterns. This was the first feeling Aika had from the battle just now, but Teacher Letica didn't think so. It's not that she was seen through, it's just that her barrier magic is too flexible. Aika-san, can you make her turn her attention to you for a few seconds? If it only takes a few seconds, I'll try to get her to look my way. You are very important people to her, she said, standing still without moving even a step under such a fierce attack, so I don't want to hurt you in front of her, please stop. Bar. That being said, you also have human emotions. From time to time, she reveals her human side, but she always regards Way 11 and herself as simple existences. She seems to be a collection of contradictions. I connected with her when she came to this floating island. It was just influenced by her emotions. Just think of it like this: it was precisely because she had almost paranoid feelings for Way 11 that she was unable to communicate. Aika did not point out the flaw in her words. I'm going to do it, eyes of fiery flame. Mechanical alchemy spiral tower. In response to his call, a torrent of silver magic power gathered in the space, and the entire space was lit up by the torrent of silver magic power. The dazzling light quickly dissipated and was replaced by a spiral turret standing on the ground. Teacher Letica waved her wings of light almost at the same time, and golden magic fragments fell into the air. The torrent of silver magic power was released from the spiral cannon with an unstoppable offensive, and the figure of Teacher Letica turned into a golden stream of light, running alongside the magic power of the spiral tower, or even faster than it. Before the birdcage of blue phosphorus was completely constructed, Teacher Letica used the scorching rapier of light to tear apart the strongest defense from the gaps in the barrier. Immediately, the silver-white waves engulfed Teacher Letica and her petite body. Teacher Letica. Aika had no idea that Teacher Letica would sacrifice her life to attack. But if the attack is stopped now, the chance that Teacher Letica has won will fall short. The torrent of magic power was not divided into two streams, perhaps because she had no chance to deploy a defensive barrier, or perhaps the position she was standing in to protect herself from such an offensive was already at its limit. Therefore, Aika did not give up and adjusted the magic output to the maximum level that he could release. Amidst the flying sand and rocks, the vision became blurred, and the ear-splitting roar also eliminated hearing. After completing its mission, the huge cannon body returned to silver light particles and dispersed in the wind. Ika-san, you have done a great job. The gradually recovering hearing seemed to hear the voice of teacher Letica. Ika opened her eyes wide. It would be understandable if it were auditory hallucinations, but it would be difficult to explain the simultaneous occurrence of auditory hallucinations and hallucinations. Teacher Letica, are you okay? At this time, teacher Letica has dispelled the wings of light, and there is probably no remaining magic power to continue to unfold the aurora of mirror flowers. The aurora of mirrors can also refract the trajectory of magic power. In addition to maintaining the magic power of the light wings and lightsaber, all the remaining magic power is used to defend your magic power. Feel sorry. Instructor Letica could barely stand. Ika wanted to support her, but they almost fell down together. Senior Tyruya quickly put down Way 11 and ran over to support the two of them. Where is that person? It seems to have disappeared. I opened a gap in the Kang phosphorus birdcage. Under that kind of attack, even if the magic formula did not construct a complete barrier, it would not be able to withstand it. Very good. Ika's peace of mind didn't even last 5 seconds before Way 11's faraway voice broke it. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 277. I'm sorry. Behind Way 11, stood a figure that should have disappeared. I was caught. Why? Ika's brain couldn't understand her intention for doing this for a while. The barrier was of no use to Way 11. Way 11 was caught on purpose. She made no resistance at all. Smiling in this situation would only make Ika want to get angry. Why do you do this? If you can't even accept your own existence, there will be no place in the world. It seems that she understands this very well. She used Way 11's appearance and voice to answer Ika's roar for Way 11. A translucent wall blocked the distance between them and Way 11. This was not an unreachable distance. Ika punched hard on this magical barrier wall. Brother Ika, Xuechaoziji is a magic costume and Way 11 is a human being. This kind of contradiction cannot exist at the same time. If she accepts herself as a magic suit, Way 11 can only live as a magic suit. If you accept yourself as a human being, you will deny the identity of the magic suit. The meaning of Way 11's words is very obvious. Isn't this kind of contradiction just sophistry to humans? In my eyes, you are just Way 11. You can only live as Way 11. Ika beat the barrier as if losing her mind, but his voice made Way 11 move further away from him. I can't live like this. Way 11 shook her head in fear and took a step further away from Ika. Are you frightened by Ika's beast-like behavior? Or is it because he is afraid of accepting Ika's words? Teacher Taro left you to me, and you just ran into my life casually, and now you want to leave alone? Stop joking. I'm not. Nothing. Ika roared and interrupted Way 11's defense, and the blood on her fists flowed down the barrier. As if he couldn't feel the pain, he drove his tired body to continue talking to himself. Did the Chiz family and the Heinz family fall because of you? Don't be so arrogant. That was an issue between the Bes Empire and the Principality of Sentia. You didn't even say anything at that time. By the way, does that have anything to do with you? Senior Tyruya and Instructor Letica could only look at Ika worriedly. What he said now did not concern Way 11's mood at all. He seemed to be making trouble unreasonably, but no one went up to give him a slap to calm him down. This is no longer a situation where they can interrupt. Maybe Way 11 can't even listen to Ika's words now, so they can only place their hope on that boy. Even if it has nothing to do with me, I can't be with Brother Ika. Way 11 suddenly shouted out in a voice she would never normally make. She wanted to suppress Ika's voice to strengthen her mood. Only Luoluo and Sister Ling have such qualifications. I am not even human and I have no qualifications to fall in love with the same person as them. Way 11, who was so excited, didn't even notice that the secret between her, Luoluo and Ling was revealed in this way. Ika was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed out loud as if she understood something, and her frayed fists no longer hit the barrier that separated the two. Wei 11 didn't know what was so funny about this sentence. Her little face turned red because of the shame she felt at being laughed at after summoning all her strength to shout and confess. After the laughter stopped, Aika, who finally regained her composure, stared straight into Wei 11's eyes that were mixed with anger and confusion. Wei 11, am I an irrational person? No. Wei 11 didn't understand why Aika asked like this at this time. However, normally, she would have answered this answer. Even if he's indecisive or doesn't know what's going on, this is the right part of the boy Aika. I already know that you are not human, and you have the name Xuechaoji. Aika stood there firmly holding the barrier with both hands. Then why am I still hopelessly in love with you now? Wei 11's already wet eyes widened even more. She didn't expect such an answer, right? Did she think she didn't notice it? If she hadn't discovered it, she wouldn't have bothered for so long over the kindness she wanted to convey. If you don't like her, there is no need to worry. If he didn't like her, he would leave this follower here now. She has already noticed it, hasn't she noticed it yet? You don't have to think about it so much when you're in love. Things like gender, race, and age difference are just excuses. Tailua Senpai's outlook on love seemed to be the first one to have problems. I am still very grateful to my parents for being able to meet each other. Race and other things are just things in name. Her family must be very happy. I am neither a human nor a pureblood in the true sense, but I also like humans. Tailua Senpai also mentioned this person before. But he confessed to his sister. Just because he graduated 2 years before me, I wanted to wait until graduation, but it was too late. She did not hesitate to open the wounds of her heart in front of so many people, just to convey these words to Wei 11, who was at a loss. Everyone has the right to choose freely, and no one has the right to stop you. That's all I want to say. Finally speaking out the words she had been holding in her heart, Tailua Senpai laughed without regret. Wei 11 looked at Aika and Tailua Senpai through the translucent barrier at a loss. Behind her, she never spoke, nor did she show any anger towards Aika and the others' struggle. Her eyes were still as calm as lake water. After a long time, Wei 11 finally spoke slowly and tentatively. Brother Aika, have you ever liked me? It's not I liked you before, I still like you now. In Wei 11's heart, there was a mixture of joy and pain, and the rolling emotions lost their shackles. Wei 11, you don't have to accept yourself now. Even if the world has no place for you, you can still return to this home. This last sentence helped Wei 11 move forward. Wei 11, can you be my Snow Tide G? As both the magical costume Snow Tide G and the human Wei 11, Aika makes these two identities become the same existence. Wei 11 took a step forward, and the seemingly untouchable distance lost its confusing restraint and became closer in an instant. Her little hand overlapped with Aika's palm through the temperatureless barrier, and she immediately felt the isolated temperature. At the moment when the barrier was lifted, Aika tightly grasped Wei 11's soft little hand, and her body, which had lost its support, fell forward uncontrollably. Wei 11 took advantage of this opportunity and gently exchanged a kiss of vows with Aika. Aika felt the softness and warmth of Wei 11's lips, and this gentle temperature also soaked into the body that was overrun with magic power. This way, we will never be separated. In the pure white magic blowing up in the wind, the contract engraved in their souls tightly connects the two. After the short contract ceremony, the two people who still didn't let go of their hands looked at her, who was watching coldly. Are you satisfied with this result? Wei 11 has accepted everything that belongs to her, past, present, and future, and she is no longer confused. She didn't answer, only her figure disappeared from everyone's eyes and reappeared in the original place. The surrounding scenery gradually faded as if fading. The realm is going to disappear. Just as Wei 11 said, the spring scenery of the lake that had been damaged by the fierce battle was restored to its original state. That's my domain, because I don't want the place to be cluttered. No one realized that they had entered the field at the beginning of the battle. Because of your field, I have never been able to fight with all my strength. But you didn't eliminate my domain, because you don't want it to become a mess, Snowtide. In human terms, that's what it is. In the end, she just said this lightly. Way 11 does not use mother, but Shueqiao to refer to her. Are you the other half sealed by me? Yes. Wait a minute, Way 11. Isn't she the consciousness of the ruins? There is no such thing as consciousness in ruins. I am the consciousness separated from the snow tide G, in human understanding, that is. Ika felt exhausted all over. It turned out that the target of the battle had always been Way 11. Snow tide G itself. Her hostility towards everyone has disappeared. I don't know if it is accurate to think so. Apart from using magic directly on everyone, it is almost impossible to guess her thoughts. Suddenly saying that he wanted Way 11's existence to disappear, and now giving up on her, Ika could only think of one explanation. Is this your purpose, to make Way 11 accept your existence? Tailua Senpai was also keenly aware of this. Her expression was still calm, not even a nod of affirmation, but Ika seemed to see her blushing slightly. The stone tablet here is the last symbol of the Principality of Sentia, and it was erected by Mephi Sentia himself. She turned around slightly and stood facing the stone tablet. Way 11, who took the initiative to seal this memory, naturally forgot that there was such a meaning in the ruins of her birth. I can't forgive you for using this method to escape. Obviously these things must never be forgotten. Her voice seemed to be choked with sobs, which is probably why she turned her back to everyone. Ika was about to say something for Way 11, but Way 11 pulled his sleeve, shook his head, and walked away from everyone. Way 11 walked all the way behind her. She did not turn around. Way 11 hugged her from behind without any scruples. I'm sorry, I won't run away anymore. She seemed to sniff slightly as Way 11 hugged her. Mephi's, the country she and I agreed to build, and the time we spent in this country, I don't want to lose these anymore. Way 11 slightly increased the strength of her arms and brought her body closer. So, please forgive me, and please come back. The wind seemed to get stronger, and the grass blades were blown up into the air from the field, and then fell lightly a little further away. Even with just the power of the wind, it still left its place and flew across. The figure Way 11 hugged disappeared silently, disappearing without even saying hello. Perhaps, she doesn't want Ika and the others to see her current face and hear her current voice. There was nothing in Way 11's arms, but she still hugged her chest tightly. Before turning around, you must let the tears flow. So Way 11 didn't turn around for a long time. The ever-changing spring sunshine shines on the wilderness without being blocked by clouds, stretching her small shadow very long. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 278. After that, Way 11 paid homage to the stone monument erected by Mephi Sentia alone. During this time, Instructor Wilbur's team left the forest safely. Regarding Way 11's past memories, they all saw it, but still asked Ika to explain. During the period when Way 11 has not returned, Ika asked everyone to keep Way 11's secret. Although I'm still a little shocked. Suddenly being told that their family members are actually not human beings but magic costumes, there is no way for anyone to change their existing perceptions quickly. However, there are also people who give up thinking about this complicated relationship and just start from the results. After all, she is still the same troubled child, right? Nothing has changed, right? It should not change. Ika didn't know how to answer Ling's question because he didn't know the answer himself. In Wei 11's words, that person is her other half. Now that the other half has returned to her body, she doesn't know what impact it will have on her. Speaking of which, is Waxi-san now Ika-san's magic costume? Instructor Wilbur noticed the important information that Ika conveyed in one sentence. Ah, that's what it is. Recalling the kiss when the contract was signed, Ika's cheeks felt hot and she looked away guiltily. Senior Tailua and Instructor Letica, who witnessed that moment, just covered their mouths and snickered, and did not expose him in front of everyone. If Wei 11 said it again at that time, it would be a bombshell for Lugo and Ling. But considering Wei 11's character, she shouldn't let it slip, probably not. Brother and Xiao 11, I really can't figure it out. Lugo, there's no need to go out of your way to figure it out. Ika, did her body change in any way after she became a magic suit? How would I know? Besides, she didn't turn into a magic suit, she just regained her memory. I'm just asking, why are you so excited? Did you really check her body? Absolutely not. Senior Tailua and Instructor Letica are both here. Maybe that one. Tailua-senpai, please don't say that on purpose. Brother, what exactly did you do to Xiao 11? Even if you ask. The panicked brother is definitely trying to hide something, so I'll go ask Xiao 11 directly. I also think there is definitely something wrong with this person. Hello. Luo and Ling still pestered Ika and asked all kinds of questions, but the topic gradually deviated from the original direction. After all kinds of psychological torture to Ika, they finally fully accepted Wei 11's sudden change of identity. We should put it another way here. Wei 11's identity has not changed. She is still a precious family member to the three of them. And magic costume is just an additional label. Wei 11 is a girl who is as powerful as a magic costume, nothing more. What is Xioxi doing now? Probably, in memory. Ah, that Grand Duke. Mephi Sentia. So many people remember this name now, Wei 11. A faint smile appeared at the corner of Ika's mouth, which would more or less help Wei 11 bear those heavy memories. Wei 11, who was squatting on the hill far away, finally stood up, turned around and trotted towards the side. Before Ika could take a step forward, Luo stepped forward first, and Ling followed behind Luo. They hugged each other a little further away. Do girls celebrate reunions like this? Ika couldn't hear what was said between them, but Wei 11's smile was a mixture of joy and relief. After Wei 11 came back, Ika made a request to her. Close the ruins. That's right. I don't know how to express it. This ruins is now activated because you are here, right? That's it, the activation of the ruins is actually just the activation of the core magic power. That's it? Can this activation stop? As long as I leave, it should stop. I see. In this way, we know one of the limiting conditions for the activation of the ruins. There is no time to continue discussing the issue of the ruins here. Ika's purpose is simply to deactivate the activated ruins. If the giant magic circle covering the continent is activated, no one knows what will happen. No, now that Wei 11 has recovered the memory of the magic suit, she should know something. Brother, we are ready to go back. Luo's voice interrupted Ika's thoughts, and he realized that now was not the time to think about that kind of thing. Everyone is still waiting for themselves and Wei 11, and will not let them wait any longer. Now go back along the original route. You should be able to return to Mistis before dark, right? Letica, how did you find the way out? I also considered whether there was a barrier set up in the forest to confuse people. There shouldn't be that kind of barrier. Teacher Letica opened the PDA with a wry smile, and discussed the report on the ruins exploration with Teacher Wilbur while walking. Wei 11 was sandwiched between Luo and Ling, walking on the already narrow forest path. I have endless words to say on this road, and I will continue to say them when I return to Mistis. Tailua Senpai and Ika walk side by side at the end. Senior Tairuya, thank you for helping me convince Way 11. It was actually you who convinced her. Seeing how hard you worked, I wanted to do something for you too. Sorry, I made you laugh that time. Ika recalled her gaffe at that time and scratched her hair in embarrassment. I can understand it a little bit. Student Way 11 is really happy. Tailua Senpai also. Stop here, forget what I said at that time. Tairua Senpai stopped Ika from mentioning that matter again. After all, there is the ulterior motive of Senior Tairuya. At that time, I was probably affected by the atmosphere, so I said that. Haha. Just like that, Tailua Senpai ended the topic about her unilaterally. No matter who you are, there will be one or two secrets buried deep in your heart, just like an eggshell that is not strong enough to tightly protect a softer yolk. He only touched her by chance. Although he didn't need to keep silent, he should at least keep a distance that would not hurt her. On the way back, we didn't meet any more monsters. When the sunset glowed on the horizon, everyone returned to the plain area where Mistis was located. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 279. After learning that this unknown ruins was the birthplace of Way 11, the exploration of the ruins of Shimizuki Academy has come to an end, and Mistis is preparing to return in the evening. All members of this investigation team must write an investigation report. This is an after-school assignment left by Instructor Letica. However, after experiencing various things in the ruins, everyone was exhausted physically and mentally. There is still one day left for the return trip, so I can write tomorrow. Just relax tonight. Instructor Letica also noticed everyone's fatigue. After suggesting with a smile, she and Instructor Wilbur went to the conference room to attend the instructor meeting. After having dinner together in the restaurant, the girls all piled into the shower room. That's right, Xiao 11. Can I touch your body? Wei 11 instinctively felt the danger from Ling's words. With only her underwear on her body, she hugged the uniform she had just taken off tightly to her chest. Sister Ling, are you still concerned about that issue? Only Luoluo knew what was going on in Ling's head. What are you guys saying? I'm just a little worried that Xiao 11's body has changed. Ling is still making excuses for his behavior. After knowing that Ling was just worried about herself, the nervous Wei 11 breathed a sigh of relief. I just remembered some old things, and my body seems to be no different from before. Ling seemed to finally accept Wei 11's statement, and she nodded thoughtfully. After the girls took off their uniforms, Wei 11 chose the innermost room. Then from the inside to the outside are Luoluo, Ling and Tailua Senpai. In this small shower room, everyone has thought about problems worth worrying about. Wei 11 could not accept her bad habit of always feeling sorry for herself, and reminded herself deep in her heart that she must cheer up. Ling encouraged Luoluo, who was afraid of knowing Ika's true feelings, and gave her motivation behind Luoluo's back. Tailua Senpai was determined to ask her instructors about the meaning of this operation. The investigation report that teacher Letica asked everyone to write is about what everyone paid and what they got during this exploration of the ruins. Wei 11 suddenly asked in a voice that everyone could hear, does everyone care about my body? The shower room suddenly became silent, and the suddenly quiet space made Wei 11 explain the problem she just had in panic. I mean, well, don't you care a little bit about the differences between me and humans? Xiao 11, you are actually the one you care about the most, right? How could? Luoluo's accusation with a helpless smile made Wei 11's voice gradually become smaller, and finally was completely covered by the sound of the shower water. I'll be a little concerned, but it doesn't look like I'm an unknown person, so that's okay. Ling admitted frankly and at the same time comforted Wei 11 in her own way not to mind, although she had tried to check Wei 11's body a few minutes ago. Ling probably means Wei 11's position in his heart will never change. Senior Tairuya smiled and translated Ling's words with her own understanding. Because she was just speaking on behalf of Ling, Senior Tairuya didn't feel very shy. Ling wanted to defend herself reflexively, but in the end she didn't speak out, and just acquiesced to what Senior Tairuya said. Thanks. By the way, did Senior Tairuya write that investigation report? Sorry, this is my first time writing too. Senior Tilyuya, who just entered the 3rd grade this year, is not yet able to provide advice to Lolo. I have no clue at all. Ling couldn't remember the last time she wrote such a long article. She seemed to have written a review during the magic theory class. Wouldn't the content written by members of the same team be similar? Teacher Letica emphasized before that the main content of the report is personal experience, and everyone's experience should be different. Student Wei 11, your experience and mine may be very different. Of course I can't compare with Tairuya Senpai. Ika-kun may also have his own ideas. When Senior Tairuya said this, Wei 11 recalled the time when she avoided Ika because of shyness, which ended up causing him trouble. When Ika hugged her shoulders and legs, Wei 11 wanted to push him away and reject him. Knowing her own mood but still doing such a thing, even the resigned Wei 11 would feel awkward in her heart. But the quarrel can only be limited to the heart. In reality, I have not made any resistance. From Brother Ika's point of view, he seems to be very happy. Wei 11 didn't want Ika to think that she was the kind of child who would be happy just by coaxing her, even if she had confessed to him. Wei 11's body couldn't help but feel a little hot at the thought of hysterically saying shameless words in front of him. It was all the fault of the water being too hot, and my head got hot as a result. Wei 11 stood on tiptoes and pressed the button that controlled the water temperature down several times. While they were thinking wildly, Luoluo and Ling were asking Senior Sister Letica about what happened to Mentor Letica's team in the ruins. Anyway, those 2 third-level monsters suddenly appeared. Tairuya Senpai didn't tell her juniors about the accident where Teacher Letica was tripped. Teacher Letica must also want to seal this dark history. However, the third-level monsters alone were enough to attract the attention of the younger generations. What Luoluo and Ling met were all second-tier monsters. Teacher Letica said they were attracted by the burst of magic power. The third-level monsters are very sensitive to magic power. Did that burst of magic power refer to Sister Ling's blazing red lotus? Come to think of it, at that time I'm sorry. The time when Senior Tairuya encountered the monster was just after Ling and Luoluo worked together to defeat the bull-shaped monster. Ling did not expect that he would also cause trouble to Instructor Letica's team. Now he can only sincerely apologize to the 2 team members. Luoluo just accidentally exposed Ling's mistake, and even she was very embarrassed and apologized with Ling. But since everyone was in the shower stall, neither could see each other's faces, so it didn't turn into a very awkward apology scene. Tairuya Senpai also said that this kind of situation often happens when we act together, so don't worry about it. But we didn't feel there was any fighting nearby. Luoluo's impression of the battle with the third-level monsters was the time when Ika saved Senior Lilith. Even the direction of the dormitory could feel the intensity of the battle. That's because Wei 11-san deployed the field before the battle started, so we can fight with confidence. Wei 11-san maintained the field while also using other barrier magic to support us. She is the one who the biggest contributor. How could it be? I haven't fully accomplished what I can do. Wei 11 just listened silently as an audience for Senior Tairuya. She was not satisfied with her performance in that battle, so she did not participate in their conversation. Already possessing the self-awareness of being a magic suit of Ika, Wei 11 knew that she could have done better in that battle. If he fights with all his strength, he can end the battle unscathed within a few minutes. But at that time, Wei 11 thought that this was her limit, and she even looked ugly in front of everyone because she was afraid of being eaten by worms. So when Senior Tyruya suddenly called herself a hero, Wei 11 naturally couldn't accept such a praise. I didn't do it completely and I tried my best are two different things. I tried my best doesn't necessarily mean I can do it completely. Besides, you are the kind of person who will do your best in everything, right? I also believe that Xiao 11 has tried her best. And Xiao 11, I told you not to be too modest, right? Disobedient children will be punished. Woo. You don't need to see Wei 11's expression, but you can tell from the moans she inadvertently leaked that she was scared because of Ling's words. Sister Ling, don't always bully Xiao 11. Does Ling often bully Wei 11 at home? Senior Tyruya knew that this kind of bullying was just for fun, but what surprised her was that Ling actually had such a side. In Shimizuki Academy and the Fengji group, Lingdu feels like a flower on the high mountain. So she was very curious about how Ling bullied Wei 11. Teilua senpai, this is just a misunderstanding. Where is classmate Wei 11? If Ling bullies you, I will educate her well. Of course, it is impossible to truly educate Ling. Senior Tyruya is just trying to trick Wei 11, who is easy to talk to. Ling and Wei 11 were separated by 2 layers of partitions and Luo. She could not guarantee that Wei 11 would not leak the secret between the two. No. Bullying. Fortunately, Wei 11 didn't say anything she shouldn't have said. Although she still cannot understand the actual meaning of some things, girls will feel shy and will not say it casually. Sister Ling is just, education. Seemingly thinking that this perfunctory answer was not polite to Teilua senpai who asked the question, Wei 11 added additional explanations in a very low voice. Education? Just don't be too harsh. If this is the case, Teilua senpai can understand. Preaching does seem like something Ling would do. Luo seemed to simply understand education as preaching and no longer dwelled on this issue. In fact, Ling's punishment was limited to the night before the Moonflower Festival at Chiyu Academy, and she never did that kind of thing to Wei 11 again. Ling was different from Wei 11. She understood the meaning of that kind of behavior, and the girl's reserve made it difficult for her to talk about that love affair in the bathroom. In the end, Ling used the expression devastated to prevent herself from hitting the wall in shame. By the way, isn't it almost time for us to go out? It's true that taking a shower for too long is not good for your health. Everyone noticed the current time only after Ling reminded them. After turning off the water valve, the only sound left in the shower was the crisp sound of water droplets dripping on the tiles. It's rare to see this kind of shower device in Shimizuki Academy. Wei 11 seemed a little reluctant to leave. Girls can probably understand her feelings. The small cubicle and the spacious bathroom each have different charms. It's in the preparation room of the swimming pool. Have you never been there? Teilua senpai, is there a place like this for a swimming pool? Of course there is, haven't you been there yet? I never thought about swimming. Luo recalled the swimming experiences in her memory, and there were only a handful of times that she could still remember. The first time was at the beach in the East District of the Imperial Capital. The pure white swimsuit she bought in the Eastern District of the Imperial Capital is still stored in the closet in her room. Most of that time was not spent swimming. Wei 11 fainted due to heat stroke, and all the members were beginners. Practicing fetching does not seem to be considered swimming, right? The second time was in Lilith Senpai's mansion, where she put on a very high-end swimsuit. It was the first time she tried to challenge a bikini, and it was a bold black color. Luo still can't believe that she has done such an amazing thing. Don't keep occupying the preparation room just because you are curious. Ahaha, I will remind everyone to pay attention. You may say so, but in fact Luo is really looking forward to it. Sister Ling. I didn't expect that. Oh, really? It is true. Ling took a small revenge on Luo, and it was very successful. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 280. The girls, who had changed into pajamas in the dressing room, returned to their rooms in the living area and could finally rest completely. Of course Ika was not here. He returned to the boys' room just as Mistis was preparing to take off. Tonight is about to end in 2 hours, and the girls are preparing to go to bed early. Mistis has now left the minefield outside the ruins, and now the vast night sky is visible outside the window. After turning off the lighting on the cabin roof, the room didn't look very dark. The fatigue accumulated during the day quickly pulled the girls into sleep, with the exception of one person. Although she had regained her magical self-awareness, Way 11 also felt as sleepy as ever. She just deliberately did not fall asleep now. Because she still had something on her mind, her little hand under the blanket tightly held her PDA. In the inbox of the PDA, there is a text message that Ika replied to him 10 minutes ago. After receiving Ika's reply, Way 11 tried hard to hide her restlessness. Although the agreed time has not come yet, it is useless to be anxious, but the unbearable mood cannot be easily dismissed with this excuse. Way 11 knew that Ika also needed to rest, and she also knew that Ika would not turn a blind eye to her request. With a sense of guilt and expectation in her heart, Way 11 tried her best not to lose to Sandman. When there was only the shallow breathing of others in the room, Way 11 secretly left her bed. Gently push the hatch open to the gap that you can pass through, slip through the gap sideways, and then quietly close the hatch. Way 11 came to the corridor outside the cabin in the silence where she could hear her own heartbeat. In the process of sneaking out of the room, Way 11 even felt difficulty breathing. It was the first time she had done something she couldn't do, and her heart was filled with tension. Stroking his somewhat stuffy chest, his violently beating heart gradually became calmer, so that he could feel that he was indeed the same as a human being. Way 11 shook her head, throwing away the worries she could never let go of. Now she just wants to rush to that person's side. Although there were still a few minutes before the appointed time, Ika's figure had already appeared on the deck. Way 11 originally thought that she would come first, so that she would at least have time to prepare mentally. But Ika had arrived earlier than her, and the sound of the hatch opening had already alerted him to her, and now there was no way out. She didn't think about what she wanted to say, or she suddenly forgot what she wanted to say. Way 11 walked out of the shadow of the bridge with an uneasy mood. She lowered her head slightly and walked until she was in front of Ika. All he can see in front of him is his legs bent into a splay, and that's fine. Now that my mind is in chaos, there is only one sentence that can be said without thinking. I'm sorry, it's troublesome for Brother Ika to come here at this time. I was already here when you sent the text message, so don't worry. Ika's shoes appeared in Way 11's field of vision, and she could feel his hand touching her on her head. Perhaps gaining courage from Ika's hand touching her head, Way 11 raised her head in front of him. Why did you run out in your pajamas? Everyone is sleeping. It's so early, but they really worked hard. Brother Ika is also. It's okay. At least I can't sleep now, so I can still stay with you. Even though she knew that this was just a lie that Ika took into consideration, Way 11 was now willing to accept it as the truth. That. You tell me. Brother Ika, do you have any questions you want to ask me? What about your identity? Xueqiao 11G and Way 11 only have different names. I can only see one you in my eyes. Woo. Way 11's body suddenly shook, as if she wanted to escape but couldn't move as she wished. Under her long pure white hair, her skin, which was originally as white as snow, now looked like cooked shrimp, and even the arms stretched out from under her pajamas were blushing. Ika also realized through her reaction that his words could easily be misunderstood, but correcting the statement was of little use, so he gave up. After all, you are our family, and this will never change no matter what. By the way, there's one more thing, I don't know what you think. I think it's better to explain it to you in advance. The flush on Wei 11's face has not faded yet, and she remains in this state waiting for Aika's next words. Aika didn't speak immediately, he seemed to be choosing the right way to express himself. Judging from the results, you are now my magic costume, right? Well, I belong to Brother Aika. That's what I want to say. Aika looked at Wei 11's moist eyes and corrected what she thought was a logical attribution. Even if we have a contract, I hope you will not regard yourself as my property. Aika does not want Wei 11's additional identity to change the relationship between the two, and he cannot accept Wei 11 treating him as an object. But, Brother Aika is my master. Wei 11, who was about to cry, was like a puppy abandoned by its owner, anxiously trying to persuade Aika with the same reasons. Aika was more or less aware of the reason for her insistence. He took a step forward, and the distance between the two disappeared. Aika held her in his arms without asking her permission, simply because it was the only way to calm her down. If I lose this contract, will I abandon you? For you, does the like in that sentence only have this weight? Because the two bodies were already close together, Wei 11's body's reaction to these words could not be concealed. Her huddled shoulders trembled slightly with her sobs, not even as the little head on Aika's chest pressed against his body. Wei 11 gave up hiding in front of Aika, and hugged Aika's waist with her trembling little hands. Aika increased the strength in her arms and hugged Wei 11 more tightly. He didn't know the meaning of this, but he just didn't want to let go now. Brother Aika. She snuggled into Aika's arms and raised her pear-shaped face. Can the correct contract ceremony be completed now? Correct. At that time, it was just a temporary contract. Aika wanted to let go of Wei 11, but her clothes were tightly held by her little hands. How to do? If it was Wei 11's request, Aika would be willing to fulfill her wish. There were still tears on Wei 11's face. In order to prevent Aika from escaping, she refused to let go. Kissing, the lip-to-lip kind. The trembling lips spit out the wishes that had been accumulated so far. She mustered up the courage to be greedy for once. Even if she lies, she still wants a response imprinted on her body. Under the bright silver moonlight, the snow-colored little fairy is waiting for the response of the person he hits. The evening breeze blew her pure white hair, and the shadows under the moonlight blended in the hazy night. Aika kissed her warm lips, even though he had already seen through Wei 11's lie. Image. Perhaps this cannot be called a lie. Wei 11 did not admit that this was a contract between humans and magic equipment. The same term could be given different definitions. Neither Aika nor Wei 11 can define their contract with each other at this moment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 281. Today's imperial capital is shrouded in a hazy curtain of rain. It is the rainy season in late spring that paints the sky with gray colors. The rain in late spring is so heavy that it's hard to even notice when it falls. The number of pedestrians on the street did not decrease because of the rain, and umbrellas of various colors were in full bloom. There were also children running through the rain without umbrellas, and adults who looked like their parents were chasing them behind them with umbrellas. Augustus, located in the center of the imperial capital, is like a reverse world outside. There was a black car driving west along the road in Augustine in the rain. The second prince of the Bizi Empire, Philip Ela, sat in the back seat, crossing his hands and looking at the passing scenery outside the car window. It's just that apart from the occasional raindrops sliding behind the car window, the only thing left is the hazy color of the colorful plants. Thinking of the person he was going to see next, he frowned irritably. Fortunately, the journey was so long and there was still enough time for him to think quietly. The castle of Zi Mingyila, the fourth princess of the Bizi Empire, is located on the western outskirts of August. From here, it takes about 20 minutes to drive to the imperial city in the center of Augustus. This elegant retro-style castle was newly built after the relocation, just to allow the frail and sick Princess Zimingila to rest in peace and rest. Although the western part of Augustus is a suburban area, the landscape here is more exquisite than any scenic spot in the imperial capital. Everything here exists for the royal family. But in the eyes of Her Royal Highness the Fourth Princess, this is just a birdcage covered with flowers and vines. The girl in a wheelchair has been staying on the balcony of her dormitory for more than half an hour. At this time, she was closing her eyes slightly, maybe taking a nap, maybe listening to the sound of rain. The wheelchair is a product of magical machinery and can be freely controlled to move, so there is no need for someone to always be by your side. Her long hair, as smooth as brocade, draped naturally over her shoulders, like violets blooming in the spring rain. Because a little maid helped take care of it, it was kept to this length. The little maid responsible for taking care of her daily life is now sitting in the bedroom. This was Zi Ming's request. She wanted to be alone for a while. When the time was almost up, the girl wearing a white apron on a cyan dress stood up from the chair, and Black Yao's short shoulder-length hair danced gently with her movements. She gently pushed open the glass door of the balcony, and her boots made a crisp sound on the ground. Although the voice was very low, Zi Ming still noticed it, and she opened her lightly closed eyes. The left eye is dazzling gold, and the right eye is deep cyan blue. Zi Ming has heterochromatic pupils that are opposite to Lan Ming. Anja. Yes. Ji stood 2 steps away when Zi Ming called her name. Is it already time? Yes. His Royal Highness Prince Philip Ila will be arriving soon. Anja replied in a humble voice. Zi Ming has a meeting with Philip Ila today. This is a unilateral request made by the other party. Zi Ming has no reason to refuse. She knew very well in her heart that whether or not there was a reason was not something she could decide freely. Philip Ila did not need to ask for her consent when he came here. Anja, let's go down. Since there is no reason, Zi Ming, who is here, can only follow the established procedures to complete the process. Even if it is a meeting, there is no state matter that requires one's participation in the ruling. Today's meeting must have been extremely boring, and it was just a consolation shown by the radical faction of the Senate for their own sake. Yes. In this castle, there are many spies who monitor them under the pretext of protection, so they have to do what they want to see. But Zi Ming also has something he can decide on his own, which is to only allow his little maiden Ji to get close to him. There are not many stairs in this castle, but elevators are prepared for Zi Ming who has limited mobility. Anja pushed Zi Ming's wheelchair into the elevator closest to her dormitory, and then pressed the button to the first floor. The door closed automatically, the indicator on the elevator decreased from 4 to 1, and stopped steadily with a ding. Among the Purple Rose Knights who were already waiting on one side, a man dressed slightly differently from the other knights came towards Zi Ming. Ryan, there is no need to alert the knights. 2 royal families are meeting in this castle. It is necessary for us, the Knights of the Purple Rose, to ensure the safety of the castle. Alv Ghislaine, the leader of the Knights of the Purple Rose, spoke justly against her will. The Purple Rose Knights directly belong to Zimingila, and the only person who needs protection is Her Royal Highness the Fourth Princess. Alv Ghislaine cleverly found an excuse for the actions of the Order of the Purple Rose. The radical faction of the Senate once prepared to transfer some knights of the Imperial Knights to Zi Ming's side under the pretext of strengthening the security, but Alv Ghislaine bluntly rejected it by borrowing the influence of the family. With the strength of the Purple Rose Knights, it is enough to protect Her Royal Highness Princess Zimingila, and the practice of sending additional knights beyond the direct knight order seems excessive in the eyes of other nobles. Even so, most of the civil servants in the castle were informants to the radical faction of the Senate. The radical faction of the Senate allowed Zi Ming to live in this isolated castle on the grounds that Zi Ming Yila was frail and sick. This kind of life was no different from house arrest. But Ziming Yila accepted their request, so the emperor did not ask any more questions. Anja, please, your highness the princess. I know. Anja always had this calm tone, without any sense of nervousness. Because of Zi Ming's health, if the other party does not specifically request that there be no third party, she can bring her own maid. Anja neither knows how to use magic nor has combat experience. She just moved into this castle to take care of Zi Ming's daily life. So it is easy to be ignored. Philippe Ila climbed the stairs of the castle and walked into the hall on the red carpet. Long time no see, Zi Ming. As soon as he saw Zi Ming, he strode towards her without concealing his joy. There seems to be no need for my brother and I to meet each other. It seems that I am too sentimental. Philippe Ila was not embarrassed by Zi Ming's cold attitude. I am very worried about your health. Lan Ming also mentioned it many times. Hearing the name that he had been thinking about day and night, Zi Ming finally became interested in the man in front of him who was talking in general terms. And Philippe Ila raised the corners of his mouth as if he saw a fish on the hook. Philippe Ila did not let his guards enter the interview hall, and he did not care about Anja's presence. Zi Ming directly questioned him. Have you met the imperial sister? Well, just yesterday. How long are you going to deceive her? Philip opposite him answered Zi Ming's questions without changing his expression. This was the attitude that made her most angry. She had no way to get in touch with Lan Ming, nor could she reveal Philip's position to her. Philip boldly used this opportunity to keep her in the dark. You misunderstood. I already had a showdown with her during our meeting yesterday. I will never have the chance to meet her again in the future. What the radicals are doing is obviously wrong, and until now I still can't understand why you would agree with them. Zi Ming was not aware of Philip's position at first and always thought that he would stand with Lan Ming. But after Lan Ming's news was blocked, Philip could still visit the castle freely, so Zi Ming became suspicious. Under her questioning, Philip did not hide anything. Zi Ming, who knew the truth, did not shed tears like Lan Ming, but was filled with anger. After that meeting, she became seriously ill. Philip still comes to see her every 2 days, but in Zi Ming's eyes, it's all just a show. Now is indeed not the time to expand our territory, but that day will eventually come. I just see it further than you do. That day will never exist. The cross-border war has left a psychological shadow on everyone, and repeating that kind of tragedy will only become the target of public criticism. Zi Ming, you are so kind. If a war starts, other countries will only protect themselves. This is the current situation on the mainland. What Philip said was true, so Zi Ming could not refute it. She knew that it was just her ideal world. At this time when the mainland is in desperate need of development, no race or country will be able to lend a helping hand. Is your goal the kingdom of Tiburai? Humanity cannot be divided into 2 countries, this is their idea. Doesn't this represent what you think? Because this kind of thing doesn't matter to me, I just need to hold my reliable thigh. This irresponsible speech left Zi Ming speechless and made her even more contemptuous of Philip. For this reason, you are going to put millions of lives in the BZ Empire and Tiburai Kingdom at risk. This is human beings, Zi Ming. Perhaps the carefree boudoir princess cannot understand. Zi Ming dug his nails hard into the palm of his hand to extinguish the anger ignited by this simple provocation. She is indeed a Perta princess, so she cannot accept the disregard of human life for her own selfish gain. Is that all you want to say? Zi Ming felt a little breathless, maybe he was too excited just now. She never wanted to see Philip's calm face again. Philip seemed to notice Zi Ming's slightly painful expression, and he did not continue to wear down Zi Ming's patience. I will never get close to Lan Ming again. She is still working hard to realize her ideals. I am here this time to tell you this much. Philip stood up from his seat. Zhi Ming's face showed a painful expression the moment he turned around, but she still held on to her weak body because she didn't want to show weakness in front of the enemy. By the way, there is one more thing. He suddenly stopped, but still turned his back to Zhi Ming. I think you should know very well that as long as you give up Zilong Rongjin, you can do what you want to do. Zhi Ming did not answer her words because she found it difficult to even speak now. My throat hurt like burning, and my mind became dizzy. Philip didn't turn around out of respect for her, but Zhi Ming wouldn't thank him. In the shaking vision, Philip's back disappeared behind the door of the interview hall. In Zhi Ming's hazy consciousness, Philip, who was wearing a white windbreaker and the doctor in the castle, ran into the interview hall after leaving. Was he the one who called him? I said I wouldn't thank you. When the warm magic of healing magic flowed into his body, Zhi Ming fell into a deep sleep. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 282. Lan Ming rushed to the August Center early this morning to discuss matters concerning the joint establishment of a cooperative trading city between the Bizi Empire and the Tiberai Kingdom. This idea has been proposed by her for some time and has now been brought back to the parliament after the two countries signed an agreement. At this meeting, the Emperor of the Bes Empire and Pope Thetis also attended. Your Highness, why did you choose the location of the cooperative trading city in the Tiberai Kingdom instead of the Bizi Empire? Faced with the questions raised by ministers from various departments participating in the review, Lan Ming gave the answers he had already prepared. As long as it can pass this parliament, the plan to establish a cooperative trade city will pass the final threshold. The kingdom of Tiberai is now in the middle of its reconstruction work. If you help the kingdom develop small cities that it has no time to take care of, not only can the local economy develop, but the reputation of the Bizi Empire will also be improved. For the empire, this is indeed conducive to the development of long-term peace and stability between countries. The foreign minister seemed very satisfied with this answer. Lan Ming was not surprised because the foreign minister was from his side. His questions were more like creating a platform for Lan Ming to push the issue forward. But since some people express their support, there will definitely be voices of opposition. Your Highness Princess, is the only place we benefit from is reputation. The Minister of Military Affairs firmly grasped a certain point in Lan Ming's answer and raised a question after the Minister of Foreign Affairs. This man in his 40s was looking at Lan Ming's figure with eagle eyes, as if he just wanted to see what kind of response she could make. I think judging from the current situation of the Bis Empire, what is urgently needed now is to establish an image between countries. This is also the most direct way to increase allies and reduce threats without causing war. The Bis Empire has still not established clear relationships with other races on the mainland. Between the end of the cross-border war, the relationship between the various races was very ambiguous. Whether they were allies or enemies, they now start from scratch. Perhaps the Bizi Empire, which has developed magic technology to this day, has undoubted strength, but other races also have their own unknown technologies. In Lan Ming's eyes, the Bizi Empire being the most powerful country in the mainland is just an unfounded fantasy. Anyone who is not stupid can understand this truth. Of course, she would not say such words on this occasion, but this meaning was already implicit in her opinion. People are unpredictable. Investing so many resources in the Tiberai kingdom does not guarantee that it will not bite us back in the future. The Minister of Military Affairs, who rarely speaks in Parliament on weekdays, seems to be particularly difficult to deal with today. Lan Ming couldn't see through her position. He seemed to have a deep connection with the first prince who was not in the Bizi Empire. If he had to say it, he should be the type of person who was watching the fire from the other side. Maybe it was because his previous actions attracted his attention, but Lan Ming could see that he was just deliberately making things difficult for him. However, this is only an expected difficulty, and it is still within the range that can be dealt with. The kingdom of Tiberi will not make stupid moves like striking an egg against a stone. I think you think so too, as you know something about their military strength. Denying Lan Ming's words was tantamount to admitting his own ignorance. The Minister of Military Affairs raised the corner of his mouth slightly when he was opposed to General Yu Jun. The establishment of a cooperative trading city means that some of the citizens of the BZ Empire will move into the Tiberi kingdom, right? If we take them as hostages, can we still resist? With the personality of the Minister of Military Affairs, there is no need to ask this kind of question. If it were him, he would choose to use force to solve all problems and cut through the mess quickly. Lan Ming had considered this issue before, but she knew that the approach of acting with reason and understanding with emotion would not convince this man. Parliament was at a standstill. Have you, Your Excellency, got into trouble? If the Tiberi kingdom hijacks the cooperative trading city, their citizens will inevitably be involved. We will naturally monitor the cooperative trading city, and even if we secretly evacuate their citizens, we will also evacuate their citizens in advance. Aware. Although at the royal meeting, one could not speak at will without asking the royal family for instructions, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs ignored these cumbersome details and came to help Lan Ming solve the problem. In this kind of parliament, the most taboo thing is to magnify the loopholes in the issue due to hesitation, which will be out of control. The goodwill of His Excellency the Emperor and His Majesty the Princess in working for the people is not something that every ruler has. I have something to say about that. The old man who intervened in the stalemate was Junius of the Senate. The radicals led by Emilius did not speak because the current direction of the issue was exactly what they wanted to see. Although Junius's voice was not loud, it silenced both the Minister of Military Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. After the conference hall became quiet, Junius slowly spoke. The establishment of a cooperative trade city will take time to prove whether it is correct. Choosing a small city as the location is exactly the purpose. We need to take a step forward to understand the information that cannot be resolved. So, those citizens were just abandoned. Emilius defiantly contradicted Junius's remarks. In response, Junius only responded with a faint denial. As the foreign minister said, the BIS Empire will monitor the operation of the cooperative trade city. Preventing it before it happens is the purpose of this measure. Emilius stopped talking, and Junius used the BIS Empire's unwarranted affirmation of his strength to enhance his convincing persuasion. The Minister of Military Affairs was silent for only a few seconds, then he relaxed and straightened his back and leaned back on the chair, waving his hands as if he was no longer interested in this issue. I understand, no objection. Lan Ming was relieved by the sudden relaxed attitude of the Minister of Military Affairs, not because he was no longer involved, but because he saw clearly that he was not attracted by the radical faction of the Senate. The implementation of the cooperative trade city system is precisely to consolidate the cooperation agreement signed with the Tiberi kingdom. Information on the city's operations will be fed back to the intelligence department at any time. Lan Ming did not give up the opportunity Junius provided her and concluded the issue early. Neither the Senate nor the ministers raised any new questions, and they just waited for the emperor to make a judgment. Although the emperor usually did not speak a word in the parliament, his decisions were the beacon that guided the BIS Empire to this day. Lan Ming Yila's plan can be passed. After receiving these words, Lan Ming finally let go of the huge stone in his heart. However, the emperor moved his eyes away from the bill and fell on Lan Ming, who was still sitting upright. Lan Ming knew that his father had additional conditions. This plan is entirely your responsibility and all liability arising therefrom will be borne by you. I understand. As the third princess of the BIS Empire, this is the responsibility I should bear. This is an expected condition. Although it was too heavy, Lan Ming still accepted the important task personally delivered by the emperor as a royal family in front of the Senate and ministers. Lan Ming has not yet independently assumed the responsibilities of the royal family. She has received recognition for her growth in this important task assigned by the Emperor. I will definitely live up to my father's expectations. Not only for the future of the Bis Empire, but also to prove that what he did was indeed correct. After the meeting, Lan Ming walked towards the motorcycle that came to greet him. Today, Lan Ming's escort is the head of the knights directly under her, and Xiaoluo is not traveling with him. Wildman Agos is a middle-aged man in his 30s. He and Alvgalain, the leader of the Order of the Purple Rose, had a bad relationship during their childhood. During the parliament, the accompanying knight had to wait outside. He bowed slightly to Lan Ming, who was approaching, and opened the car door for her. "Your Highness Princess, are you returning to the castle now?" "We won't be in the castle for the time being, Agos. Just go to the 4th precinct. We can already make arrangements. Your proposal has indeed been approved. Although it was not passed unanimously, I'm afraid there will be trouble in the future. We'll do the best we can." "Thanks, Agos." Lan Ming got into the car, and Weidman Agos also had the job of driver. Through the single-view car window, Lan Ming saw Emilius and the Minister of Military Affairs chatting for a few words outside the Parliament Hall. It seemed that the Minister of Military Affairs ended the conversation first. The Minister of Military Affairs is not cooperating with the radical faction of the Senate, at least not hindering the cooperation between the two countries. The questioning of myself in the Parliament today seemed to be just a whim. But Lan Ming was not negligent towards that man. If possible, I hope he can become a friend. Although the Senate has the power to rule on military issues, only the Minister of Military Affairs can actually mobilize the military. Junius also mentioned this to Lan Ming. Through today's parliament, Lan Ming paid attention to this suggestion again. It took only a few seconds for these thoughts to come to mind. Weidman Agos started the motorcycle, and the figure of the Minister of War was no longer visible. Charlotte Izian was supposed to accompany Lan Ming to attend the important meeting this morning, but Lan Ming temporarily assigned other tasks to her. Wildman Agos was the escort who went to the parliament on his behalf. Although he was a reassuring man in every aspect, Charlotte still felt a little depressed. Because Lan Ming told herself that this was as important a task as guarding, she reluctantly accepted it. "Sir Aizian, this is the information you need." The staff of the 4th branch of the Imperial Intelligence Agency displayed the data on the idle monitor. Charlotte brought a letter signed by Lan Ming and stamped with the coat of arms of the Ila family, and received assistance from the 4th branch without any obstruction. "Thanks." Lan Ming came to the monitor and began to search for the information Lan Ming had entrusted to him in the dense electronic file folders. The Imperial Intelligence Bureau is a collection of imperial information. It is divided into 4 branches, each with its own division. The 4th branch is mainly responsible for intelligence on domestic and foreign activities, that is, paying close attention to the trends of domestic and foreign organizations through intelligence personnel disguised as various identities. The target of foreign surveillance is the Kingdom of Tiburai. When the kingdom was first established, the Empire's spies had already penetrated it. This approach is what Lan Ming calls monitoring, in order to prevent uncontrollable situations from happening and take precautions before they happen. If at a critical moment, the eyeliner can also be turned into a sharp blade to cut off threats from invisible places in time. Fortunately, both the 4th precinct and the 2nd precinct, responsible for personnel intelligence, were now under the control of the Senate conservatives. This does not mean that the 4th precinct and the 2nd precinct are all friendly parties, but it is just that they can be more convenient in doing things. "I found it, it should be this one." Charlotte opened the file folder, which contained information on some important members of the Tiburai Kingdom Science and Technology Party. Lan Ming entrusted her to collect information on the trends of the Tiburai Kingdom Science and Technology Party during the parliament. The Science and Technology Party resists the existence of magic and overemphasizes the power of science and technology to promote human progress. It is not friendly to the Bis Empire, which advocates the combination of magic and technology. They are one of the most unstable factors in this cooperative trade city plan. After all, the Technology Party once caused riots during the signing of the cooperation agreement between the two countries. That riot did not target the BZ Empire, but planned to sacrifice Shigetsu Academy, which happened to visit Tiburai Royal Academy at that time, but was suppressed by the two academies working together. The analysis made by the fourth branch is that although the Technology Party adopts an unfriendly attitude, it is also afraid of confronting the BZ Empire. Lan Ming also agrees that the Technology Party will not directly attack the cooperative trade city, but without force, harassment tactics must be avoided. A 1,000-mile embankment was destroyed by an ant nest. Lan Ming knew that in order to carry out the cooperative trade city plan in the Tiburai Kingdom, he must always pay attention to the trends of the Science and Technology Party. Have they not made any moves recently? In the information that Charlotte saw, the names of several important people were underlined with dates next to them. Yes, the Tiburai Kingdom government has suppressed the Science and Technology Party on both sides after that incident. Some of the leaders have been killed, and the party is now in internal chaos. That's right. After listening to the staff's explanation, Charlotte understood the meaning of these crossed-out names. The date marked next to it is the date of death, which is within this month. During the seemingly peaceful time in the Empire, people were actually dying every minute. Charlotte clearly knew this fact, but still felt emotional after seeing these files. The citizens of the Tiburai Kingdom who hope for peace probably hate these terrorists who gather to make trouble, and their death may be a good thing for the whole country to celebrate. But Charlotte, who was in the BZ Empire, could not understand that feeling. She prayed in her heart for these strangers. Is the internal chaos due to competition for the position of leader? Charlotte suddenly thought of what the staff just mentioned, and she asked one more question out of curiosity. The Technology Party doesn't seem to pay special attention to the position of leader now. There are just two extremes. Two extremes. Some people began to waver in their ideas, or they felt fear because of the death of the leader. After all, before this, the government of the Tiburai Kingdom had only symbolically suppressed the civil unrest caused by the Science and Technology Party, and had never taken any serious action. Other people are so emotional that they even kill party members who don't agree with their ideas. Are they this crazy? This development was unexpected by Charlotte. Even his companions were regarded as enemies. This group of people could no longer be called human beings. That's right. But if things continue like this, the Science and Technology Party may be on its own, so we and the government of the Kingdom of Tiburai have adopted a passive attitude. I'm afraid if this continues, the flames of hatred will leak to the outside world before they can fend for themselves. This was just Charlotte's personal opinion, but she didn't say it out loud. Closing the folder related to the Science and Technology Party, Charlotte continued to browse other information that Lan Ming needed.